Good afternoon, Father Swink. So this Sunday is the 26th Sunday of Ordinary Time, and we have this parable of the rich man and Lazarus. And I want to talk about one of the aspects of the rich man. He was inattentive to the needs of this bruised up, guy with all these sores right in his front door because he was so stuffed with self. He was selfish, and I would say he was intemperate. You look at the gospel; it says there was a rich man who was dressed in purple garments and fine linen and dined sumptuously each day. Now, two things about this, purple linens, that meant that he was very rich. He was living gangster's paradise. He was wearing a lot of bling, those types of clothes. Purple was extremely expensive. He was showing it off, his money. But then this thing is he ate very well every day. So I want to talk about an interesting point of St. Thomas Aquinas, and he talks about the 5 ways of committing the sin of gluttony, or 5 ways that we can struggle with it. And it's pretty interesting. First off, we have to understand what temperance is. Temperance is the control of our appetites or our attraction to pleasure, especially with food and drink. Okay, it also can deal with sexuality, but a lot of times this word is used for food and drink because food has a lot of pleasure with it. We don't eat because it's pleasurable, but when we're eating just for the pleasure of it, we can kind of abuse food. And so this rich man's lacking this virtue of temperance. We call it intemperate, and that's what gluttony is. It's the excessive desire for the pleasure of food. And he says, one way of committing gluttony, according to St. Thomas, is eating food that's too luxurious or exotic. This is the type of person that has to eat at a fancy restaurant every time they go out. And it's interesting, in the United States of America, a lot of our food dollars are now being spent on restaurants and convenient on-the-go meals. In 2015, for the first time, Americans spent more money eating away from home than they did on groceries. So I think there's something to think about, is how many of us spend too much time out eating when we could save a buck or two and also eat a little more healthy at home. Number 2, eating too much is a form of gluttony, with stuffing yourself, okay? I know it's kind of funny because tomorrow's the chicken dinner, and I'm kind of looking forward to that, but maybe the second round of chicken's not the way to go. I don't know. But back to my point is the U.S. Department of Agriculture has found that we Americans eat 20% more calories than we did 20 years ago. The average restaurant meal today is 4 times the size that it used to be in the 1950s. The quantity of food that Americans eat is just excessive, okay? According to the Center of Disease Control. The average person used to eat 138 pounds of meat a year, and now it's up to about 195 pounds of meat a year. So check ourselves. Do we eat too much? And that's with drinking and eating, Having a couple beers, fine. 5 or 6, intemperate, it's a form of gluttony. Number 3, eating food that's too daintily or elaborately prepared. What this means is someone's too picky with their food. That's actually a form of gluttony. Like every once in a while I meet this kid and the parents will say, "Oh, my kid only eats chicken tenders." You got to train the kid to eat other things. That's setting him up for maybe there's other problems he might have if he doesn't learn to eat things he doesn't like. Okay, growing up we had to eat the Brussels sprouts whether we liked it or not. It was good for you. Okay. You can't be too picky. And when you go to people's house, don't be rude. I mean, that's a form of gluttony. Just eat what's in front of, unless you're allergic to it, of course. But Saint Ignacio Loyola says there's 2 ways of fasting: is not eating what we want to, but eating things we don't like is another form of fasting. We eat to live, not live to eat. Another one is eating too soon. I think this is a problem that anyone who works in an office struggles with, where the secretary puts out like these really nice cookies, and they're just, every time you pass the copier machine you're grazing. Eating between meals is a problem that a lot of Americans struggle with, and it leads to a lot of problems with health problems. And I think while you're preparing the meal, you eat half of it already. It's not controlling the appetite, so to speak. So, and the one that I think probably Father Bob will say that I struggle with, eating too fast. When you're oldest of 10 kids, this can be a problem. If basically eating too fast means you got to slow it down a little bit, right? Smell the flowers and so forth. So anyway, these are 5 forms of gluttony and things to look at. So once again, the whole point is this: we are to eat to live, not live to eat. Have a great week.